I'd ask Don to do a roll call, please.
Dr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mayor Dardis.
Here.
Mr. Peterson. Mayor Judd.
Here.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Here.
Mr. Wayland.
Here.
Mr. Strand. Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mrs. Sherling.
I'm here.
Mr. Steen.
Here.
Mr. Olson.
Here.
Ms. Carlson.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Very good. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes previous meeting, please?
This is Dave. I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second, Wayland.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Very good. Do I have a motion to approve the order of agenda?
This is Hendrickson. So
Carlson.
Don, did you get those two?
Yes, Hendrickson and Carlson. Thank you.
Very good. Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mayor Dardis.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson, are you on yet? Mayor Judd.
Aye.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Wayland.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Aye.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Ms. Carlson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Good. I'll have a motion to approve the consent agenda. I will tell you from our finance meeting yesterday, Mr. Shockley went through all those MOUs and they're very complex. Bernie has extra paperweight at home for them because there's so many of them, but would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Dardis.
Is there a
Second, Judd.
Judd, okay, moved and seconded. Any questions of Mr. Shockley? If not, roll call vote, please.
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mayor Dardis.
Aye.
Mayor Judd.
Aye.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Wayland.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Aye.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Ms. Carlson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Very good. We'll go to the regular agenda. Joel, do you have annual executive director report or update, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This has been an exciting year for us. I think we all know that. I wanted to maybe stray a little bit from conventional agenda and really just take a moment to do a recap of 2020. And I think this is an opportunity that we can all just kind of look at the great accomplishments that we've achieved over the course of this last year and really kind of put it all together in order to somewhat reminisce, but really kind of prepare us for where we're headed to in 2021. Next slide, please. So as the board knows, we began to hire public side staff. We brought Don Lindblom on. We brought Chris Bachigard on as Director of Engineering. And our recent hire is Jennifer Darling, Director of Communications. We'll continue to add staff as we move forward. As the board knows, we're focused on a finance director at the moment. And we've been discussing a few additional more rank and file type staff members potentially in 2021. We started the year off really taking a look at reconfiguring the consultants' MSAs. As the board can recall, we found a projected savings of $6 million out of the consultant contracts. I think really this effort was one to gain alignment, refine our scope, and refine our processes and procedures. And we continue to take a look at that on a daily basis as we move forward into implementation of the project. I think the board is very well aware of our settlement agreement, of course. I think this was monumental for the project. This was truly a watershed moment for us. It opened the gates to allow us to move forward with construction on this very important project. It also defined and put into place a number of mitigation programs that affected folks have been asking for quite some time. This allows us to move forward with implementing those programs and providing clarity for those folks that are impacted by this project. It also removed all litigation and allowed us to move forward with all local, state, and federal permits. And of course, there's an immense amount of savings to this settlement agreement. It reduced our legal budgets and our projected costs for 2021 and beyond in fighting the multiple litigation fronts that we had, and also provides certainty and construction inflation cost protection. This is really an impressive effort here as we look at the monumental leaps that we made in our funding this year. What you see here is over $1 billion worth of funding related to the project that was secured this year. We were instrumental in assisting in bringing $100 million to the Corps' work plan for core components of the project. We were also very fortunate, and we worked diligently to move towards closing on that WIFIA loan. And that's actually $569 million, not 561, just typo on the slide. And then we also recently just heard we've been approved, or our developer has been approved for up to $296 million in private activity bonds through the federal DOT. This will allow low interest, low cost capital for our development teams, which we in turn receive that savings through the bid of the project. And we were also very successful in working with our state of North Dakota partners. We signed a cost share agreement for an additional $44 million. And we also were able to renegotiate some language associated to that, which allowed us to free up additional cash from past expenditures. And I think most of you have been out to the project sites, and they're rapidly coming together. It's pretty amazing on a week-to-week basis as we see the progress out there. I do believe Terry will mention to the board that construction will be suspended shortly due to the winter months, but that they are on schedule and they continue to find additional cost savings as they move through their programs. There was a cost savings of approximately $5 to $6 million that was found at the inlet and control structure just this fall as they were moving through construction. So things are looking like we're looking very well for the federal component of the project. And I'd also like to take a moment just to recognize that this is one of the most robust environmental and mitigation programs in the nation. What you see here is the drilling rig that was launched at the Fargo boat launch in South Fargo. This was used to collect soil borings in the Red River at the Red River Control Structure site this summer. Through this immense effort, we've been able to get permits through the North Dakota Office of the State Engineer. We have the Minnesota DNR permit pending. Should be resolved with the resolved litigation in the upcoming weeks. And we also achieved a FEMA CLOMAR, which all of those are important instruments to dovetail in with our settlement agreement programs and providing that clarity for the impacted folks. And we've also been able to do an immense amount of work this year on identifying and clarifying risks for the P3 developers. We've had countless one-on-one meetings with our development teams. Countless hours have been spent talking about different risk items. And all of this is in an effort to allow the developers to properly price that risk and that's going to give us the lowest cost project and the most efficient project from those teams. We also have taken a very proactive approach on our public outreach program, bringing on a communications director and working with the folks at AE2S. We've kind of changed how we're going to implement the public outreach program. We're focused on empathy, engagement, connection, really understanding the audience and the ways that we can best connect with them to tell the story of this amazing project. We've also implemented best practices to evaluate resources and tools, simplify the proactive planning, and setting baseline standards to maintain quality. All of these are going to help us as we transition from this procurement phase into the implementation phase. And so we're very excited to move forward in that direction. So moving forward, I think that's our theme for 2021. We continue to foster and enhance and add to our executive leadership team to effectively be the concentrated point of communications for the project. We also have a huge legislative commitment coming up, both in Minnesota and North Dakota. We'll continue to work with our state partners to bring the funding necessary to complete all of the mitigation for the project. We also are transitioning from procurement to implementation. This is an important phase as we're really setting the stage for effective implementation of the project. And we're also taking our federal partnership to the next level. We've engaged in a partnership with the U.S. Corps of Engineers in a manner that's never been seen before. And there's a lot of best management practices that both of our entities are taking away from the project as we move forward. Those are best management practices that really and truly can be implemented throughout the nation. And it shows that right here in North Dakota, we can lead the nation in infrastructure implementation. And with that, Chairman, I'll take any questions if there are any.
Any question by board members? Sure, the legislative guys are going to like to see all this concrete going in.
Absolutely.
Engineering Director update, Chris Buckegard. You going to tell us some things, Chris?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Mahoney and board members. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for allowing me a few minutes on your agenda. I'm going to give you a real high-level view of what I've been working on since joining the diversion team this past July. Primarily, I've been focused on, one, catching up on the project and kind of where it's at. There's obviously been a lot of work done before I landed on the ground, and then also transitioning into more of a lead role in coordinating efforts between the diversion authority and our project partners. All of your member entity staff have been a great resource for me, getting me up to speed on the project. I certainly want to thank them for supporting me as I've stepped into this role. Also, I'm hoping that I've allowed them maybe to have a little bit more of their time back on their actual jobs and full-time jobs, and also knowing that they will continue to lend their expertise to our overall diversion program as well. So I'm looking forward to continuing working with those guys day to day. As Joel mentioned, 2020 was a monumental year, basically now in that we've cleared the path to move this project forward to full-scale execution mode. Again, thank you for your efforts on the upstream settlement. That really allowed us to fully engage with all of the project entities with much more clarity and certainty, and that has helped us when I look through that from an engineering lens. 2020 also saw continued construction on the core program. Terry's probably going to give you more of an update on that, but obviously now as you drive by the sites, you see noticeable features present at both the inlet structure and the wild rice structure. So we're starting to see the realities of what the core program is bringing to our overall project. Also, the P3 procurement has progressed to a place where we're really in that final stage of establishing our real partnership with the successful proposer. We've spent countless hours coordinating with the development teams through the one-on-one meetings Joel mentioned. Also, we spend a lot of time reviewing their technical concepts, answering questions and clarifications to them, and then also working hard with the overall P3 team to make sure that technical requirements give our proposers clarity around what they need to build and how it will be operated and maintained in the future. One of the other items we've worked on hard this year is to secure permits related to the project. On each component of the project, there's upwards of 20 different permits that could be needed. So we evaluate all those, we decide which ones are needed, and then go through the application and securing those permits on behalf of the Corps or on behalf of the Diversion Authority. A couple to note, we were able to coordinate with the Corps and secure a 404 permit for the channel construction. We also were able to secure a channel construction permit from the North Dakota State Engineer's Office this year. To my knowledge, both of these permits were the first of their kind to be issued on a P3 project. So I think that was a monumental step, and a lot of time and effort was put in by many people related to our team. But as far as coordinating that, and thanks to the Corps and their team for working with us on, and the State Engineer's Office for doing the same as far as getting those permits in place. Coordinating with our legal team, we have been preparing the MOUs Joel mentioned. I think we're up to somewhere around 24 of those. So if you thought the pile was thick this month, Mayor, there's more coming. So sorry about that, but we're working hard to get those put in place. Again, I think that just gives us clarity and helps us interact with any of the entities that our project interacts with, gives us a lot of clarity and allows us to work with them more efficiently. We've been meeting with them, coordinating with them, working out language. I expect in the next 2 to 3 months, there'll be a pretty steady stream of those coming across your guys' desks. Again, working with our legal team, we've also been coordinating on the utilities within the core project limits and also within the staging area footprints. To make that process more efficient, we are also preparing probably 15 to 20 master utility agreements that will be coming across the board for any of those utilities affected by the southern embankments and the upstream staging area. I anticipate probably in the first half of 2021, we will have most, if not all of those secured. I'm going to wrap up today by kind of looking out a little bit into what 2021 will bring and what I see from the engineering perspective on the project. I really see 2021 being a huge transitional year for us. We will really move from being predominantly in the planning and design mode to being predominantly in the construction mode. For instance, by the end of 2021, we'll have a P3 developer under contract, which establishes a construction contract for the entire channel. The Corps will have the I-29 grade raise project under construction. They will also have their Southern Embankment Segment 1 project under construction. Drain 27 wetland mitigation will be bid and awarded this year. The Red River structure will be bid and awarded in 2021. We also anticipate having the Drayton Dam mitigation project bid and awarded in 2021. And I'm not even adding in the countless city and county projects that are also paralleling our efforts in providing the overall project, the comprehensive project. So we're going to continue to support all those projects, but we're also beginning to look out beyond construction and to develop policies needed for future operations and maintenance of the project. We'll be kicking off approximately 15 action plans in early 2021. These will really more fully develop the policies needed to ensure we have successful and consistent operations and maintenance of the overall system that will provide us long-term security from flood risks throughout the entire region. So thanks again for allowing me a few minutes to talk to you guys today, and I'm available as Joel to answer any questions that you guys might have.
We're just a little surprised for an engineer, you only had one slide, so we'll take that as an advisement that in the future you will always keep your slide decks short.
There you go.
John Shockley, are you ready for the general consult update?
Actually, Mr. Chair, I don't have any particular update this meeting. You covered all of my MOUs, so I don't have any additional updates.
Joel, can you check his head and see if he doesn't have COVID or something?
Yeah, I'll do that, Mayor.
Oh, wow. Core update. Come on, Terry Williams. You'll at least tell me something, won't you?
Hello, Mr. Chair and board members. Good afternoon. I'm going to try to only have maybe 1 or 2 slides as well, just to just to try to compete with Chris. And I believe the drone footage will be shown in a little bit. So we'll go over construction of the diversion inlet and the wild rice then. But important to note that those two projects, the construction still remains on schedule. The completion dates have not moved out. Number 3, the Red River structure design, as Chris said, we are vigorously pursuing the design of that. We're on schedule, and we will start the contracting actions for that in 2021. Very exciting. The largest structure, nearing completion of design and starting to think about contracting that out for bids. Number 4, Reach SC1. The plans and specs were approved at the end of October, and we're just kind of waiting to hear from both states on permitting actions before we put that out for bids. But we plan to award that no later than about 30 March. Number 5, that's Reach SE2A. That design is on schedule as well. Final plans and specs scheduled for November of 21. Some big news. We're going to start designing what we call Reach SE1B, which is between SE1 and the diversion inlet structure. So Rock Island will be starting that up in about January, February. Number 6, I-29 raise. The plans and specs those are all complete too, all signed off on. And the pre-qualification of contractors is ongoing. And as soon as we get kind of word on permits from both states for that too, we would put that one out for bids, anticipating awarding that either by the end of March or the beginning of April. Number 7, Drain 27, designs on schedule. We are targeting award of a contract about 30 September of 21. And then the geomorphology surveys. This should really be kind of a holistic environmental discussion. The geomorph, getting that done, huge for establishing a pre-project baseline. We've done a lot of great cultural resources work this year, and that will continue into next year as well, both on the diversion channel and for the southern embankment. Then the next page, that's the standard drawing of where all of these reaches sit. You can kind of see where Reach SE1B is. It's to the left of the map and would tie into the diversion inlet structure. And then at the bottom is a lovely picture of a North Dakota sunrise on December 9th, just ahead of the big control slab pour that started about 2 in the morning the next day. And then I'll just narrate the drone footage whenever that starts up. So the diversion inlet structure, this was flown on the 10th of December. And you can see on the right side that the dam walls on the right side of the control structure still have the orange tarps on them. They're probably removed by now. Both the left side walls and the right side walls, each side we have about 4 panels left to pour, and that will be done next year. The control structure slab between the 2 sets of walls is all done. The stepped areas downstream of the large slab, those are all done and just covered with tarps. And then downstream of those stepped areas, you can see that they're driving H-pile, and that's the stilling basin area. They will continue driving the pile next year for the stilling basin and then pour concrete for that stilling basin all next year. And so the diversion inlet structure, when it's done, will be about 46 feet tall. And that's about half as tall as the M-Comp Center at about 100 feet. If you want to try to visualize how big or how tall this structure will be once the bridge decks are installed and all of the machinery. So this view is in the direction of the future flow through the structure and into the diversion channel.
Very good. Any questions by anybody?
I think we've got the wild rice too, Mayor.
Oh, you're gonna show two things. Bernie was a bit upset because your concrete use is driving up the cost of concrete in West Fargo for his projects.
Well, I totally get that because this one was flown the day of the second big pour at the wild rice structure, so on 10 December. And we're flying in basically the direction or following where the new river channel will be located. So once this structure is built, it's being built in the dry, the river channel will be dug such that it goes right through the structure. And so what they're doing is they're doing that second big control structure slab pour about 1,850 yards. So it's over 185 concrete trucks. So you can see them lining up. You can see them kind of pulling in throughout this video. This second slab, well, the whole slab is about 7 to 8 feet thick. 1,850 yards, lots of trucks, and it's a mass concrete pour. So, yeah, they are going to be shutting down construction operations at both sites, but they will keep, a small crew on to maintain the sites, and then they've got some monitoring to do on the mass concrete pours. And the wild rice at 59 feet tall is about half the height of the Fargo Dome, if you want to visualize that. That's it, Mayor.
Very good, thanks. And we'll go on now to public outreach. Roger Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of items were hit in previous presentations, but a couple things that we did talk about was positive impact of the settlement and how those, the Buffalo Red Water District came with a permit, and the contested case hearing, we're waiting for the judge's decision there. And then we've welcomed Jennifer Darling. It's her second meeting with us, and she gave a couple comments. One was about the communications plan review and schedule. And I know we've talked about this the last couple meetings, but she did ask us to take a step back and just give her a little bit more chance to get up to speed. And we're looking at bringing something forward on the 27th of January. And also members talked about, as we go into the construction phase and the impacts of that phase on the roads and the ability of people to get to work and get to their field. So we really stress that we should concentrate on that during the construction phase and keep a good conversation going or good information going for the public so they understand the impacts and are able to work around that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it. Next, we will go to land management.
Hello.
Mary Shirley.
Thank you. We met yesterday. Since our last meeting, we've acquired 5 more parcels. We've been focusing on the diversion channel, the Southern Embankment, Reach 1, and the I-29 road raises. Appraisals are being conducted now for the Drain 27 wetland and the Red River control structures. Cass County Commission has held 6 public meetings with a number of property owners and authorized the Cass County Joint Water Resource District to utilize last resort eminent domain on those properties. We've had some post-Clomar outreach with property owners addressing address corrections, responding to questions, and follow-ups from land agents. It's already been talked about with environmental program monitoring. We're working on getting flowage easement valuations with phase 2 with Crown appraisals that will be coming up next. And Watts is incorporating information from the settlement term sheet for the crop insurance development. The other piece of our meeting yesterday, we spent quite a bit of time talking about the disposition of excess land and what kind of policies would be appropriate for us going forward. And we'll be talking about that later on in this meeting today. So that concludes my report. If Roger or Kevin have something from Minnesota or the joint board to report, to add to it, that'd be great.
Any other comments, Roger?
Yeah, the process continues. This morning's meeting, we had invitations out to 21 property owners, and we did have, I believe there was 3 that showed up to talk about their specific issues and what they considered was a fair value. And it's actually going pretty well. Although, as we are getting into areas that are transitional, where you have farmland that could possibly transition over the next 5, 10, 15, 30 years, landowners are wanting us to consider that in their appraisals, and we rely almost exclusively on our land appraisers, and it's been working all right, but we continue to just go through the process and negotiate right to the end. So if there's any questions.
Any questions, Roger? I think, Roger, you give a good policy as far as farmers and what they're feeling. So it is nice to have you help guide us a little bit on what to do with the land we have and how you'd like it managed, so people are given the right to try to get in on the bidding if they need to. So,
well, I appreciate you listening, because I think it's important, and I'm just speaking from the dirt out here and what it takes. So thank you for listening.
Well, we have the same problem in the city. Sometimes people think their land's worth a lot more and can develop a lot quicker, but it just doesn't always move that fast. So, okay, Mary, does that conclude your report, or does Eric have anything to do?
Eric, do you have anything else, or are we going to wait till the end of this agenda?
I think you hit a home run, Mary. Nice job.
Thank you.
I think the thing on this, what you have up though, Eric, is interesting. And now it looks like you've almost been in contact with all the owners of the land and are in process of something, you know, either negotiations or eminent domain or different items. So it looks like the team is continuing to make progress.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, and Mary as well. We are awfully busy. Yeah, there's been a lot of work going on, Roger and his board and the MIC board as well, keeping busy. Lots of conversations happening with property owners. I think by and large, many of those are good conversations. Unfortunately, as Roger has noted in the past, we have the tough conversations that have been happening over the last few months and having to go through the county commission process for that. But we are continuing to move forward and making progress.
Thank you. Mayor Dardis, are you ready to give us the report on finance?
Yes, Mayor, I am. Finance Committee met yesterday, and I wanted to say that prior to that, I've been participating as a guest in public outreach and land acquisition to gain a broader knowledge as to an understanding of the budget that's being presented for 2021. And I would call to the attention that the 2021 cash budget is at $219 million, just about $220 million. And there's a number of line items that I think that are important to note. There is obviously the settlement agreement of the $35 million is in there. And then the other thing is that when Mr. Shockley talks about his MOUs for utilities, That also is a very large item in 2021 of $34 million and change. So the budget is been reviewed by the Finance Committee. Mr. Paulson has given us a line-by-line explanation and discussions as to what we're doing there. Another significant line item is the in-town flood protection for the city of Fargo, and that's at $35 million. So in 2019, 2021, excuse me, the 219 million is significantly up from what we've been doing in the past. And if, as one listens to land acquisition and public outreach, the good work that Roger's doing and Mary's doing and all those involved, it is a significant budget. I would call to your attention also on the 2021 cash budget. The last page also outlines our revenue sources of projections of sales tax revenue from the city of Fargo, Cass County, the state of North Dakota. Our investment income is our property income, which will, as the diversion channel starts to be built, that will come down significantly. At present time, we're leasing out back to the producers about 8,000 to 9,000 acres, and as the channel gets under construction, obviously that's going to change, and we have a $60 million cash balance carryover. So again, a significant budget increase. I'd stand for any questions, and I'll attempt to answer, and I'd certainly defer to Mr. Paulson as well in any questions anybody on the board might have.
Mayor Dardis, this is Roger.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you can answer this, and we did get an answer from Joel Paulson on how the sales tax revenues are coming and if they're keeping up. And I think it would be an interesting observation to give the rest of the board.
Certainly. We might call on Mr. Montplaisir for a more detailed report than I could possibly give, or Mr. Costin, both from sales taxes. I do know that March and April were decidedly down. May, June, July, and I'm referencing the city of West Fargo, we were running at an 8% over the year before. Right now, we're at 5%. The North Dakota state aid is down decidedly. If you take a look at the North Dakota state revenues, they're down about 20%, and state aid to the cities is down about 20%. So Mayor Mahoney or Mr. Montplaisir, could you respond to, again, sales tax has been running a little bit ahead, which is actually, to me, is quite surprising. But if you take a look specifically at the internet sales tax collections, the estimates from the state tax commissioner, it's much, much higher than what they had forecasted. So, Mayor Mahoney, you have anything to add, or Mr. Montplaisir possibly?
Yeah, Roger, we were very surprised in the spring or the summertime purchases, and initially excited, hoping we get a 4 or 5% return rate. We're at about 1.5% to 2% right now. With what I see in shopping in December, I'm hopeful it will be higher than 2% overall, but that would be tremendous for the community. And the state aid seems to us, we both, Bernie and myself, 10 to 20% off where it was supposed to be. But we think the money that we need for the project, we should come in as predicted by Ernst & Young.
Mr. Chair, this is Rick from Cass County. And just report on that. We're a little over 2% up over last year as far as sales tax collections through November. So we're heading in the right direction.
And Mr. Chair, the finance plan currently uses this is John. The plan currently uses a 1.5% growth. So we are exceeding what we have in the plan, keeping in mind that the plan was built on a conservative and prudent growth pattern of sales tax.
Very good. That answer your question, Roger?
Yes, it does. And it was John Shockley that gave us the update.
Okay.
I misquoted there, but
Right.
thank you.
President Dardis, you're back on again.
If there are any additional questions, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of the 2021 cash budget.
Steen seconds.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mayor Dardis,
Aye.
Mayor Judd,
Aye.
Mr. Hendrickson,
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn,
Aye.
Mr. Wayland.
Aye.
Mr. Strand is on. He is texting me his votes. Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mrs. Sherling,
Yes.
Mr. Steen,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
The ayes have it. No, I mean, the yeses have it. Go ahead, Bernie.
Mr. Chairman, also, the Finance Committee reviewed two board or contract actions that were brought forth. Ernst & Young is an amendment to the infrastructure advisors, and Crown Appraisers. And the Finance Committee approved those, took action on them, and I would also recommend to the board that they meet with their approval on these amendments.
Seconds.
Is there a second?
Steen seconds.
Any discussion? Questions? Roll call vote.
Dr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mayor Dardis,
Aye.
Mayor Judd,
Aye.
Mr. Hendrickson,
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn,
Aye.
Mr. Wayland,
Aye.
Mr. Strand, Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mrs. Sherling,
Yes.
Mr. Steen,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Mayor Dardis, do you have any other business?
I have one other thing that I'd like to point out that, and this goes back to both dealing with Mrs. Sherling's and Roger's committees. There is a lot of discussion going on with regard to the land that we have that we possibly don't need right now, and that's in excess of about $20 million. And I would like to commend all those people that are involved in that discussion with regard to how one of the things that was addressed yesterday that would be at public auction. But Roger's insight on first refusals to adjoining landowners or previous landowners and those types of things. I think that this is a very solid approach. And so that's the only thing that the Finance Committee had a lot of discussion about, and that we certainly support their efforts on how we're going to liquidate some of this $20 million in excess land that we have. That's my full report, Mr. Chairman. Stand for any questions.
Thank you. Both those committees are doing a good job on that. I would agree. Other business, compensation study attachment. This is Joel Paulson to, I think, explain.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a proposed contract with a consultant to stand up a classification and compensation study for the Diversion Authority. This is, and as the board knows, as we've moved to create public side staff as an entity, we currently do not have robust human resource policies, and so we've begun a process of working through that. This is, one of the steps in that process. What I would hope is that we can get this done by February, March of next year. This will provide a pay matrix for the Diversion Authority, and it will also provide us the ability to classify each of the positions within that pay matrix, so that we can assure that we are being competitive and that we're paying appropriate salaries, and that we have a process for performance review and compensation increases in the future. So I'll stand for any questions.
So just for the board to understand, we kind of had tasked the county to help us with HR issues with the DA, people that we hired. The difficulty in that is that Moorhead, Fargo, and the county, West Fargo, all have different type of matrices that they go by. And what Joel is running into is he suggests a salary, but we didn't have necessarily an HR study on some of these areas. So what this is hoped to do is give us a process that we can follow. And Joel and I also discussed the difficulty is that some people are going to be hired for 6 years and go out. So you may want to review their position every 6 months. You may want to do other types of salary compensation exclusions. So it was felt the best way to do this is a process that's defined. So it's not them, well, we'll go to the city's pay scale or we'll go to the county's pay scale. It would be we'll define the pay scales for the market, and then that will be given to the board to approve. So we felt this is a better way to do a process rather than the difficulties you run into, which Joel has to do a certain salary to attract the candidates. So we felt this would be objectifying it and make it easier for the board. Any other?
Mayor Mahoney, this is Dardis.
Yes.
Mr. Paulson also brought this forth on the Finance Committee. We took action on it, took a vote on it, and it was approved. The one thing that I am concerned about as we continue to move into 2021 is the timeline when this firm that we're looking at here, the Gallagher firm, this is going to be about a 3-month process. So we'll be, before we probably even have a list of candidates and the like, we're probably going to be at the end of the first quarter. So just so the whole board knows that this is not a process that's going to be immediate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I think Mayor Dardis, the other thing that's talked to the board is that we said maybe at the finance person, we would go ahead with a salary range of 100 to 130,000. And if the study comes out at the end or the candidate would request a higher salary, we could discuss that. But exactly, it's very important we get a finance person in helping us out through the P3 process. So that is one of the things Joe is considering at this time as well, so we can move that faster. And I think in your committee, Mayor Dardis, we discussed that as well.
Yes, sir, we did. Thank you.
So Joel, do we need to action item this? Finance passed it, or did we already pass it in consent?
The board does have to pass any new contracts, so I would request action from the board on this item.
Any other questions from board members? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Dardis, I move to approve the Gallagher proposal.
Is there a second?
Steen to second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mayor Dardis,
Aye.
Mayor Judd,
Aye.
Mr. Hendrickson,
Aye.
Mr. Papcorn,
Aye.
Mr. Wayland,
Aye.
Mr. Strand, Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mrs. Sherling,
Yes.
Mr. Steen,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Very good. Asset land policy, Joel?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think there's been a lot of discussion about this already, both from the Lands Committee report and the Finance Committee report. I just wanted to preview this in front of the board. I'm not requesting any action today, but just so folks are aware that the discussion is ongoing, and if they have any input to provide that to myself or members of the Land Committee or Finance Committee. If we could scroll down to the provisions of the policy, I'll just quickly go through some of the key principles that have been defined to date. So 4.1 defines land sold via public sale. We believe that this is a good course of action, keeping the taxpayer in mind to be able to get market value for the value of the land that we're selling. This only applies to excess lands that we do not need for the project. And so all land would be sold via public sale, either auction or listed on the open market. Item number 4.2 is a refrain from selling land at a loss. So it's the authority's intent that excess land should not be sold at a loss, and that we should sell it at what we sold or more. Now, this has some nuances to it. Obviously, when we replat some of this land, we change the shape and size of the properties, and that does affect the valuation of the property. But I think what this is trying to say is that we would have the property appraised at market conditions, and we would sell the land at market costs. Item 4.3, really the preference is to sell the land first to adjacent property owners if they so choose. This would be an offer to sell the land at market value to adjacent property owners. This was kind of an important element as the project has disrupted multiple neighborhoods throughout the region, in ensuring that those folks that have been impacted by the project and have lost productive land have the ability to buy farmland to compensate or offset those losses. 4.4 is our wish to keep the properties taxable. And this would mean that we would prefer that the sale of the property would be to a private party or a public entity that would continue to tax those parcels unless it was deemed necessary or in the public good to take those off the tax rolls. We are also proposing in this policy provision that the land that we currently own would stay taxable while the Cass County Joint Board holds that land for the benefit of the Diversion Authority. Item 4.5 is the option to hold certain lands long-term. We have interesting scenarios down along the southern embankment where we're purchasing land that has development value, and that development value is taken into account for flowage easement evaluations. However, the property after the project would never have development potential due to the proximity within the upstream mitigation area. So there is going to be some property that we purchase that, or there would be property that we would have to buy a flowage easement on, where the flowage easement would be well over the value of the property long term. And so there's also some provisions here. Some of the property that we do own is at higher risk of triggering prevent plant and summertime crop loss. And if the Cass County Joint Board held that for the benefit of the diversion project and leased that land out, we could remove those provisions out of those leases, obviously through negotiation, but would really remove some of our riskiest liability for those programs. So there may be an option that we may want to hold some of the excess land that we do own long term. So this is really what we previewed at Lands and the Finance Committee. We got a lot of great feedback already. We intend to work through a number of the comments that we received, as well as work through with different members over the course of the next month, and bring a policy to the board in January so that we can get clarity as we deal with these properties. And as Mayor Dardis had mentioned prior, we're already up around that $20 million mark of asset lands outside of the right-of-way necessary for the diversion project. And that will continue to grow as we continue to close on deals in the upcoming months. And so how we deal with that, I think at this point is a paramount concern of ours, especially moving into construction where cash will be tight. As we saw with our $219 million cash budget for 2021, I would anticipate 2022 to be very similar, and so on. And so there is going to be a point where, the Diversion Authority will want to dispose of this land and free up that cash. And we need to ensure that we're doing it in a manner that is cognizant of the communities that we're impacting, and that we're keeping the taxpayers' interest in mind as we move forward. So with that, I think we can take any questions, Chairman, but again, I'm not asking for any action tonight.
Very good. I think as the land committee talked about it yesterday, we have to be thoughtful about this and then think of the different scenarios that may come forth. So anybody who has any suggestions on this policy, please make us aware. Talk to Joel, and we could add it to that. Any questions? Seeing none, John, are you ready to talk about the executive director review? Now, the board is usually really good about being responsive on any of the crises we have, but it seems on the review of our executive director, many of you are shy to put down your review. So I would very much encourage everybody to get this to us by Friday, the sheets that you have, so John Shockley and I can sit down with Joel and perhaps make him feel good for Christmas. So if you would do that, John, you're on board.
Yeah, Mayor, Mr. Chair, you couldn't have said it any better than I could have. If we can get the evaluation form submitted, under Joel's employment agreement, the chair and general counsel will sit down with Joel. I'm in the process of summarizing the evaluation forms I've received thus far. I think it's fair to say at this point, all of them are either good or outstanding reviews. So shouldn't be any issues. Pursuant to the employment agreement, there is a cost of living adjustment that's automatic. And then the mayor and I will sit down with Joel, go over his review with him. And then the intent would be for the mayor to reach out to the other leadership just to let them know if there's a recommended salary increase. But we want to get the results of the evaluation done before any recommendation is made regarding the salary increase.
Are there any questions by board members? So task for the next 24 hours, let's get those reviews in, please. You know, in the Diversion Authority history, we always have people that work with us for a long time and are one of the people that come to the board and go through a variety of different things. Grant Whalen is going off the board at this time and has been a very good board member, even in the course of him having a sore arm, sore hand. He went to Washington with us to ask for money. And I think because he had a face that looked like he was in pain, the federal people gave us money. I think it worked out really well for us. So Grant, what I would like, Daryl Vanyo did a slideshow for us. It was about 20 slides. I didn't afford you the time to do that. But is there anything you'd like to say to the board as you exit the board? And I want to thank you for your service. You've been a great board member. But is there anything that you would like to say to the board as you exit?
Well, yeah, thanks, Mayor. I just would like to say it's been such a privilege to serve with the current and past board members, so many great people. And there have been so many great diversion and core staff that have been on board on this project. It's been a great thing. So, it's been many years since we started this project, and maybe some of us that were involved when it started were naive, but I recall talking about having the project done by 2014 or 15. So, so that time is come and gone, but here we are today, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I guess I'd just like to say good luck to all of you in bringing this project that benefits the entire region to completion. So thanks. I appreciate the kind words.
And we have a picture when we did groundbreaking. We have a picture for you to hang up at home and to remember that you were the part of it when we started digging that inlet. And now Terry has spent millions of dollars on it and all sorts of concrete. But it's amazing when we started from that basic shovel that how far it's gone. So again, the board thanks you for your service and all you've done for us. Appreciate it. Joel, is it just the next meeting? Is it got in at January 28th? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. But Mayor Mahoney, we'd like to recognize you as being the chair in 2020. You've had outstanding leadership. We've thoroughly enjoyed having the opportunity to work with you on a day-to-day basis. And as well as the rest of the board does, and as well as I do, how much effort goes into the monumental accomplishments that occurred. And so I'd just like to give you a special thanks for your leadership this year, and certainly look forward to working with you next year, and looking forward to working with Mayor Judd next year as well.
Well, the only thing I could say to Jonathan, every time we pass the torch, you got to do more and more the next year. So I've got the budget in 2021 to 225 million. So let's see what you can do next year and get the rest of this project done. But really looking forward to when you start across the Red River. So thank you, everybody. I think we're ready for adjournment. Mayor Judd, do you want to make any opening comments for your next chairship?
No, I just thank you, Mayor Mahoney. I know I've got some big shoes to fill. Again, also thank you to Commissioner Whalen, and thank you to all of the folks, staff and board for your patience as I learn my way around the project. And I'm looking forward to 2021. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a happy holiday and great work today. And I met my goal is getting done by 4:30. So I feel very happy as that I've been successful as a chairman if I've done that. Thank you.